Hello and welcome to part 5 of our video series. So this lecture or tutorial can be regarded as a standalone one because I'll be teaching you how to do texture mapping in, almost said Unreal Engine, in Rhino, custom texture mapping in Rhino for complex geometries. So those complex geometries, can be anything you want. And I guess I'll start off by saying that Rhino is not great for that. It's not the best tool to use for texture mapping, but that's the tool that we have, so we'll be using it. And it doesn't work at all. What's up with that? Oh no. Is it because I didn't apply? It might be because I didn't apply. Oh no, that's because it's tiling it in a very awkward way. So what happens if we set this to 111? The answer is nothing. Sorry, what? So, as I said from the beginning, we're going to use Blender for UV unwrapping. It's a free software and it's gonna work just fine without any bugs, and everything is going to be a-okay. Anyhow, let's import our Rhino files or Rhino model into Blender so that we can get started working with it. So by default, Blender uses meters, while here in Rhino we're using centimeters. So there is going to be a scaling issue involved between these, but we'll mitigate that quickly, as quick as possible. And don't look at this horrible thing. I will make a separate video for Rhino's UVW unwrapping later once the bugs are fixed. So for now, I'm just gonna take this element right here that we have. We're using element 10 out of all of these, and I will just get it into Blender. And also I need to figure out what exactly did I cut out from the first part of the video. I guess I'll start explaining it from the beginning. So this kind of geometry, this kind of texture, or this kind of geometry that we have requires a very complex way of how you map textures on it. Just a box map or a planar map doesn't work. And for that, we need to kind of unpack it like a paper model, or unfold it like as if it was made out of paper. And you can definitely see or know that this kind of model, it's impossible to unfold it without making cuts, right? So that's what we're going to be doing for most of this tutorial in Blender. So enough blabbing, let's start doing it. Let me just clean it up just a tiny bit. There we go. Should be good. And I will just select it, export it as a, I'll just go for desktop as an OBJ file. There we go. And I'll just call it L10 for Blender, just so that I don't get confused. There we go. It's exported. Now in Blender, I will get rid of all of these elements here in the scene. Actually, let me do one thing real quickly. Don't worry about it. I'm just installing add-ons so that you can see what kind of keys I'm pressing on the screen. There we go. Turn this on. There we go. So now in the bottom left corner, you will see, you know, what am I pressing, right? It's a little bit on the small side as well. Let's make it a bit bigger. 16, 24. There we go. So first things first, we want to get rid of all of the objects here in the scene. So to do that, I will just click A, hit A, and hit delete. And click on the delete button. So this gets rid of everything. We have a clean, fresh, new slate. I'll go for File, Import, Wavefront OBJ, and I'll search for my object right here, element 10 for Blender. The settings should be default ones, import OBJ, and we'll have our file right here. And you can see that it's acting in a very strange way, and that is because the object that we did in centimeters has been imported as if it was done in meters. So inherently this object right here is 1 kilometer in size, right? Is it 1 kilometer? No, wait. 999, I assume. Right, so anyway, it's mega big. So we just want to scale it down. And the easiest way of how to scale it down is just to type in S. Just select the object, hit S, and type in 0.01. You can see in the top left corner where it says scale X, Y, and Z. All of these are defined by 0.01. Hit enter. And now it's scaled down. Now it's very small. To be able to zoom into it, you can use your numpad's dot key, numpad dot, as you can see here. Or you could have just gone for, I think it's view frame selected right here. View frame selected. Anyway, now we're centered around this scaled down object. Right, so now back to the actual unwrapping, the actual tutorial. To be able to unfold the geometry, we need to make cuts. And the way this is going to work is, well, there are two separate ways of how you can do it. The first way is using Smart UV Project, and that is the lazy way. And the second one is doing it manually. And I will not show you how to do Smart UV Project because that creates seams of texture running right through the middle of the faces that we want to keep as clean as possible, right? So instead I'll show you the manual way, the correct way, you know, for this kind of example. So here in the top, go for UV editing tab right there. And here you'll see two like screens, two layouts. One is of your model and the other one is of its UVs. And if I were to select the model, right now there are no UVs here. And also I believe it's because, yes, that changed. A lot of things has changed really quickly. So let me explain what happened. That was because we were in object mode, not in edge, face, or vertex selection mode, right? So there are multiple modes in Blender, and all of them are listed here. The top: object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, and so on. We care about these top two: object mode and edit mode. With object mode, you select things and you move things around. With edit mode, you move vertices, edges, and points inside of things around, right? So one is for moving the full body and the other one is for moving elements within the body, if that makes sense. So as you select your object and you go for edit mode, right? Then it's going to show you, it's automatically going to select all of the vertices of the mesh. If it hasn't, press A and it will. A. Also, my screencast keys are gone. I will get them back. There we go. So press A and you'll see your UVs. This is how Blender basically unwraps this geometry right now. Just great. Don't mind the texture. I'll actually... Can we get rid of the texture? Oops. That's my bad. Yeah, there we go. To get rid of the texture, you just click on the X here in the top, right? To delete it. We don't care. We don't care about the texture. What we care about is, also you probably won't see it either way. What we care about is minimizing strain on the geometry as it's being unfolded. So I can kind of visualize it. If I go in my UV tab, if I go to the top here where it says UV, and I choose, where is it? No, sorry, it's probably gonna be here, right? Yes, my apologies. So right here in the top right corner in overlays, you choose display stretch. This is the thing that we're going to try and minimize. And you can see that it's now showing the angle or the area. So in our case, it needs to be the angle between the polygons that we want to stretch as little as possible. Why do we do that? It's because mostly when you map a texture onto an object, you don't want, let's say concrete, right? You don't want the concrete to just stretch in certain parts as it's being mapped. Hope that makes sense. And again, impossible to do without seams. So let's get to it. To be able to mark where the seams should be, I'm also unselecting this. To be able to mark where the seams should be, I will go into, while I'm in edit mode, I will go into edge selection mode, because right now we're in vertex selection mode. So I'll click or select 2 in on my keyboard. 2. This switches to edge selection. 3 is polygon selection, 1 is vertex selection, right? So 2. Now we're in edge selection mode. And to be able to create a seam, I can just select like series of edges, like so, and just say that you can make a cut here. So to be able to do that, once I have these edges selected, by the way, I'm holding the shift key as I'm selecting more and more of them. Or maybe I don't need to. No, I do need to hold the shift key. So let's do a few. There we go, something like that. Control E to get the menu where you will find an option for marking a seam. Mark seam, like that. So now this edge, not loop, but edge row, edge chain is marked as something that can be cut. Now a few shortcuts, a few quick ways of how you can do it. If you hold down the Alt key and you click on the edge, it's going to select the full edge loop of that, in which that edge is located, right? So let me just show you here. Alt and click will select, let's minimize that, will select the whole triangle here, as you can see. And then I can do Control E, mark seam. There we go. I've literally separated out, I'm basically saying that all of this should be separated out and should be cut. And that is not necessarily a correct way of doing it, but it should be fine. Should be fine. Okay, another thing is if I want to completely disconnect this triangle from the rest of the mesh as it's being unfolded, then I need to somehow take care of these two loops that reconnect it back into the form, right? So holding the Alt key, I can just select, let's say, let's go a little bit deeper. So I'll select this loop right here and this loop right here. Oh, and I can't do that, as you can see. I can only select one. So I believe it's gonna be Alt-Shift select. Yes, Alt-Shift enables me to select multiple loops, right? And keep adding them to the list. Then I Control-E, mark seam, I get 2 more seams here. Okay, let's see if this bad boy gets separated out from the rest of the mesh. So to do that, I need to have all of the edges selected. I'll hit A. A selects all the edges, like that. And then I need to hit U, U short for unwrap, and click on the unwrap option here. Kablamo. This right here is not distorting as much as, you know, this stuff here. And while we're at it, you can see that now when I, actually this is something that I should talk about as well. When you unselect things here, they disappear in the UV editing view as well, right? So it becomes a little bit obnoxious to work with this tool, but thankfully they have this little icon right here, which is called UV Sync Selection. This one right here. So if you click that, then even if it's unselected, if everything is unselected, you can still see the UVs of this object, which I think is much more useful. Once you get a lot of islands here, by the way, these separated pieces are called islands. The more islands you have, I mean, usually you don't want to have that many islands, but if you must, then, you know, in certain cases, it's impossible not to have multiple islands, right? So if you want to select a full island, for instance, here, you can hover your mouse over and click L or hit L button, and that is going to select the full island, and you will see which island it is on the Blender side. Sorry, not Blender, but the 3D model side as well. Really helps with orienting yourself to what the hell is going on or where am I. All right. So now you know the basics of it. It's time to unwrap or unfold this whole geometry. So this is straining quite heavily. Oh, and I should talk about this, right? So you can see how these things become very small and they almost go to a zero, you know, to one vertex, and then they separate out again and so on. This is also something that we need to really keep in mind. For instance, here, what the hell is going on here? I can just kind of drag around these vertices to see them. Oh, it's this this edge right here, right? So there's a lot of strain happening on this particular edge. So how do I relieve the strain? Well, I can say that this should be a seam. Control E, mark seam. Oh, by the way, I'll make one more here as well, and this time I'll explain what I'm pressing. So I'm selecting one edge, and then with Control Shift, I'm selecting an edge that is on the same loop. And what it does, it finds a closest path between the two edges and selects everything in between. That is very useful. Okay, that. And let's just do one here. There we go. That should be fine. Once you've done that, you can see that this is not updating. You need to update it automatically. We hit A, U, and unwrap. And now it's a little bit better, right? In the corners. There's still a little bit of stretching. I assume it's happening. Yeah, it's still in the corner. There's still a little bit of stretching, but it's really much better from what it was. Okay, so we have this going on. I will really quickly repeat it for this side as well, because they are kind of mirrored. So let's just go for Alt, select that, or maybe, no, select that, then holding Shift, select this, Control Shift up until there, Shift this, Control Shift up until there, Shift, Control Shift, and then Shift Alt, inside, inside. Control E, mark seam, and select, or rather select everything, sorry, with A, and unwrap. And now we have 2 triangles. Yay! 2 triangles, and this mess is a little bit less messy. The more seams we add, the less messy it's gonna be. All right, so we have that separated out. Now we need to somehow basically separate out these bad boys from the triangles, right? Because unfolding that would just be such a pain in the ass. So we're going to create a seam here. I'm just holding Alt key to select the seams. A seam here. Oh yeah, Shift Alt to select multiple of them. And a seam here. Yeah, that looks fine. Control E, mark seam. Same thing on the opposite side. There. There. And right there. Control E, mark seam, A, U, unwrap. This is getting better and better. Okay, so now we've got ourselves, what do we have? Yeah, we've got ourselves one triangle located right here. That's neat, that's fine. Another one right here. We have one island that is this triangle, one island that is the opposite side triangle. And then we have, and these are, as you can see, blue, they're not stretched at all. And then we have heavily stretched objects right here. That is this, this, and this. Okay, so we need to deal with these. Let's do this one. Let's do this one. Let's see how we can unfold it. So this is gonna be quite a tricky boy, I think. And the way we can deal with it is if we use the very sharp perimeter here as our seam, because you kind of want to hide the seams, and I feel like on the sharp perimeter they might hide better, or maybe it's even worse. No, they should hide on the sharp perimeter, right? So I'll try doing it with Alt key. I'm selecting, you can see kinda this perimeter right here, and on the opposite side, Alt key. Oh yeah, Control Alt, or sorry, Shift Alt. Muscle memory is not there. Also, if you select something wrong, you can always Control Z to undo. That's also something that I really enjoy about Blender. Selection can be undone very easily with Ctrl Z. Let's see if we mark these seams, does it work, or do we actually need to make a little seam right here? Let's try. Unwrap. Yeah, that seems to be doing quite well. We have the inside here and the outside right here, but they are still getting stretched quite a bit on this end right here. Where is it in the 3D model? Right, oh come on, right there. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So what we can do is we can just say that, well, if you're getting stretched here so much, maybe this should be a seam. So I'll mark it as a seam here. And also I might as well just go in here up until, oops, Control Shift, up until here like that, and mark that as a seam as well. Let me switch to wireframe view so that you can see better, like that. Right? Zoom out. There's where my seam is. Back to shaded. You can switch between, you can see it where I'm switching. Okay, let's try. Unwrap. Great. This seems to be unfolding quite nicely. This is still being stretched quite a bit. Let's see where it is. It's right there, huh? So that's a tricky place for us to deal with. So I think we will leave it a little bit stretched. Because I don't want to add like a separate seam here just to deal with the corner here. What I want to deal with is this edge loop right here, because that seems like a, oh, but it's the same. Okay, so it's literally the same thing as here, what we need to do. Okay, fine. So you can see that I'm also selecting things in the UV editor to select things here, and that, you know, whatever works. Mark seam, sure. The more you work with this, the more sense it's gonna make, because the making sense of it just comes from experience. Okay, this has been unfolded quite successfully, and then we have, we do need to disconnect these, I feel like. Where are they in the 3D model? Right here. Yep. So you almost never want to see circles inside of your islands, because that usually just creates so much strain on the model. So I'm just going to mark these as seams, and doing so I will separate these islands out, which is fine. Mark seam, that's fine. And now here as well, where is it? Oh, on this side, huh? Here and here, mark seam, that's fine. Now we select everything, you unwrap again, and I can see that there's virtually, well, there's a little bit of stretchiness going on there, but I already said that I'm not gonna be fixing that. But I am happy with this. This should show up quite nicely in the render, like in terms of texture wrapping. Then we have the central boy here, or rather, is it two? Oh, sorry, we were working only on one of them, so I need to I need to do the second one here. But now, since I have like a, oops, what the hell was going on here? Since I have a strategy for them, I can really easily kind of fix it. So here something went wrong. Let's clear seam for this. Instead, let's select all of this. Alt select here. No, needs to be on the edge. Alt select here. No, because that's not on the edge. Yeah, things are twisting in this model. Shift select here. Perfect. We select this one, Control Shift select this one, so that it creates this kind of a loop. And here as well. Oops, don't do that. Mark seam. Great. By the way, one more thing. If you select, for instance, this edge right here, right? And you Control Shift select this edge, you can see that it's going to select all polygons in between them. So the two edges, which you select with Control Shift, need to be on the same edge chain, or else it's gonna start selecting polygons. And you don't want that. Okay, there as well, like that, and goes in here. This also I feel like is a very, very good way of how to explore your geometry. Like a really excellent way. Unwrap should be good. Yep, everything's fine. Last island, this bad boy right here. So how the hell do we deal with you? Well, it needs to somehow separate out, somehow fold out. So we will need a seam probably here, like that. And honestly, I'm going to just extract a ring from, come on. Almost, there we go. Shift, Alt, there we go. So I'll extract 3 rings from this, because I might want the rings to have different material. Like that, like that. You always need to you also need to think where you put the seams according to where the material should change. If you're planning on having multiple material, that is. So for instance, that was a whoopsie. So I'm just gonna Control Z and I'll select this instead. There we go. Control E, mark seam, should give me 3 rings. So let's see. There we go. Yeah, ring, ring, ring. Banana phone. But the thing about the rings is that they always stretch, as I said before. Technically here, the stretchiness also comes from these being rings, but we don't care. But in this case, we do. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just create a seam for each of these rings, like that. Mark seam. Perfect. Where? Probably here. Mark seam. Perfect. And last one, maybe on the inside here. Mark seam. Perfect. Okay, now when I unwrap, you can see that all of the rings have become these just straight stripes here that are, first of all, very easy to pack, so you're not sacrificing like empty space, and second of all, they're just great they don't stretch, right? Okay, last one, this bad boy right here. We need to deal with this. So I'm feeling like 2 sides for this should do the trick. So can we just say that we're going to be cutting through the middle? But that's going to make an ugly seam. I feel like. So perhaps we can separate it. Also that is not the best placement for the edges. Okay, let's look at the edge loops. This one right? This one, this one, this one, and then it kind of loops around. So we can't do that, but we can do kind of this, right? I feel like we can do that. Okay, and then what about the opposite side? Which one was it? That. In this case, I'm just gonna select it one by one. Yeah, and then it kind of slips here a little bit. So we can't do that. We need like a more inner one here. I'm kind of thinking maybe we do like a seam right through the middle in the bottom. Yeah, let's just do it that way. Didn't let me. That's strange. Let's do it slowly then. Perhaps it just counts the amount of edges that it needs to go through and it found a faster way. Okay, mark seam. That should kind of unfold it, if I'm not mistaken. Like fillet it like a fish. Yeah. That's what it does. This is not too bad, honestly. This is not too bad at all. There are these kind of tension areas here, but I feel like we could fix them by just creating seams in between them, but I don't want to do that. Because a seam right there is even worse than having a little bit of distortion of the texture. But this fillet seems to be working just fine. Okay, I will call this successful. Now, to be able to actually see, you know, how the texture works, I guess we should create a material for it, right? That would make sense. So I'll go back to layout. Go back to layout here. I will select the object and I'll go to its material properties, which are right here. And let's delete this material that it has. So I'll click on the minus sign, remove material slot, like that. And I'll just click on new, just like that. Just starting fresh, right? With a new material. And here, the only thing that I'll use for now is going to be base color, which, you know, you can change the color of the material, sure. Let me show you. Red. Oh, right. We're in shaded view, not in rendered view. So here in the top, you change this to material preview. You know, red, white, whatever you want, right? So you can change the colors of the object, or you can just choose a base color by clicking this yellow icon here, base color, and here I'll choose image texture. Image texture, there we go. It basically creates a slot for the image texture to be applied, and here I just click on open to find the texture that I'll use. And do we have any? So you can download any image you want. I think I have like a pretty decent one. Where was it? Competitions? No. Resources. Textures. There we go. Concrete. Marble. Black marble floor. No idea if that is nice. Probably not. Let's go for slate texture. Why not? Slate diffuse. Let's just hit open. And this is basically how it now transfers onto the object. You can see very minimal stretching here, and the seams are almost non-visible, right? So let's actually try to remember where we had the seams. We had we had a seam running right through here, and you can kind of see it, right? You can kind of see it. Actually, let's make it nicer. Let's add a bump map to it. So here in the material settings, I'll find wherever it has oh, it needs like a normal map, not a bump map. Or we can kind of displace it. No, let's stop. Not this kind of tutorial. We just talk about textures. Sorry about that. Anyway, I find this to be quite successful. I can also kind of open like a different type of a texture. Let's go for wood, diffuse. There we go. Wooden texture. You can see that the seam there is not that great, but other than that, pretty happy with the way it's being wrapped. And the nice thing about this is that if we were to subdivide this object even further, the UV mapping would stay the way it is. And we will be doing that in just a second. But first of all, let's go back to UV editing right here. And let me just show you how we can play around with this, right? So for instance, I'm just gonna fish out, yeah, it's this one, right? This object right here. What if I want the alignment of the texture to be different for this particular face? I can do that. And the way you do it is, well, if you just select it here and you press G for grab and start moving it around, you can see that the vertices of your other objects in the UV editor right here are moving together with it. That's the vertices that are connected to this particular island. We don't want that. I escape out of that. Instead, I will click 3 so that we are in face selection mode, and now nothing else gets selected on the other islands. And now with grab, I can just kind of move it around anywhere I want. So I'm basically offsetting the texture this way, right? I can also rotate this, and you can see that the texture rotates with it, right? So that's pretty neat. Let's create a custom material for this. That's something that we want to do. So I'll arrange my islands in a way that makes sense to me, right? So first of all, let's go for let's group them up. I'm trying to select. So this is the inner one. Gotcha. L. This is the outer one of the same object. This is of the opposite object, so we don't care about that. Opposite object. Yeah, this one. Also outer one. So let's place them next to each other, right? So that I have outer, inner, and I need one more inner. I assume it's gonna be, was that it? Yeah, that's the one. With G, I just place it here. There we go. So all of these are my this pipe right here, and I can just kind of, for now, place it right here. Okay, so next one is gonna be, let's do the other pipe here. So let's L, that's the inner one. So we place it, there's not enough room there. Let's place it there. Then this L, that's the outer one. Which one here is, yeah. So this one needs to be outer upper, right? So we place it there. Then we have this, also inner lower. right there. That should correspond with this. Yes, it does. And then we have the last one for some reason rotated. L, G, R, 90. R short for rotate. And then you type in 90 to just rotate it 90 degrees. And you have it right here. Great, we have our little strips kind of arranged so that it's easier for us to work with. Then we have our central piece, which is this bad boy right here. This also needs to be vertical, so 90, like that. I'll just place it just right here. And next to it, we need like the strips, the stripes, right? Should those be vertical? I'm not sure. Perhaps I'll just be... Maybe we should have everything vertical, so I will be rotating the stripes here and just placing them wherever I can find some space. You want to pack these as well as possible. So these two have been packed quite well. I'll just 90. That is definitely not 90. Rotate 90. There we go. G for grab. Let's zoom in actually to see what the hell. Oh, that's fine. Can be packed even closer. Something like that. L, 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 G. That was an H. H hides things, so Ctrl Z, and we just kind of wiggle it in. Perfect, like that. Then for the triangles, these two guys are rotated in a very weird way. Actually, all of these are rotated in a weird way. So I'm going to kind of re-rotate them, LR, and just find, you know, an alignment where they are kind of vertical. That seems to be okay. And this one might go just upside down. Or, no, never mind, we'll have some space there for it to go upside down. So this one will be vertical here as well. Just like that. And then last two, G or L, G, R 180. Like that. And then L, G, R 180. Nope, not 180, 90. R 90. And now R 180, like that. Awesome. Okay, now we need to make sure that these are corresponding, and they are not. Great. Always a pleasure to mess things up. Now it's good. We have our little texture object here, which we can scale, but I believe there is like a under UV, when you have all of them, I'm just selecting all of them with A. Under UV you can pack islands. Oh my god, it just messes everything up for me. So no, we will not be packing islands. Instead, I will just be scaling everything so that it barely fits within this rectangle. Feel like we can make this work. That fits. What about that? That fits. Yeah, everything fits. Great. We have successfully unwrapped a piece of geometry. time for some Photoshop in just a second. All right, so in Photoshop, we create a new file, and that file is going to be the size of our texture. So you can use 1K, 2K, 4K, or 8K textures. I would not suggest 8K because that is going to be very, very heavy on the graphics card once we start multiplying these objects quite a bit. But 4K should be fine. And the way you kind of understand what 4K is it's basically like a multiple of 2. So 2, 16, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. So 1024 is called 1K. Then multiply that by 2, 2048 is called 2K. Multiply that by 2, 4096 pixels is called 4K. And that is the resolution that we're going to use. So here for the width, I'm just going to say 4096, and for the height, 4096. Easy peasy. Everything else can be, as it is, RGB color, 8-bit, white, sure. Great. All right, so we have ourselves a little file here, but and we will use this file as our kind of master texture file, with which we will kind of mess around and use what's the word that I'm trying to say? We will use this file for to apply multiple passes on our geometry with textures, multiple layers, I should say. So easier to show than to tell. So let's go back to Blender and let's get this out as a 4K image. So with everything selected, under UV, you choose to export UV layout right here. And you can just export it. I'll just do it for desktop. E10 for Blender, sure. But here I will choose the size as I'll choose this size as my texture that the size of the texture that I'm using. God damn it, slipping. So 4096. There we go. That's the size. Export UV layout. It's gonna think for a little bit, and it's going to give us like a pretty clean layout of this. Let's see. There we go. There it is. E10 for Blender. I take this and I drag this into my Photoshop like that. Copy it in, enter. There it is. So we will be using this as our kind of go-to, as our understanding where the islands are in the UV map. So one quick example that I always like to show is if I create a new layer, you can't see it. There we go. If I create a new layer here in Photoshop or in any other software, I'm just using Photoshop for this, any image editing software, and I say, well, in this layer, let's say is all blue, just blue. And then I create one more layer, and for this we need the line work to always be in the top, right? So underneath, I create one more layer and I say, well, it's all blue except for, let's say, these stripes right here. So I'm just gonna color in these stripes red. Should have used polygonal lasso tool, doesn't matter anymore. Okay, So, you know, something very, very simple. Then I disable the preview of the line work because we don't want that to be a part of our texture. And I save this as a, I'll just save it again to desktop as a JPEG image. I already have like element 10 diffuse set up, so I'll just overwrite it. Yes. Quality 10. No, we use full quality. Or actually, maybe 11. Because 12 seems to be an overkill. Okay, so we save this. Then back in Blender, I can go to my layout tab, and instead of this flooring texture, I can go to materials, you know, and then here, instead of flooring, I can click on the open little icon and choose element 10 diffuse.jpg. Open image. And now you can see that I have one image that is perfectly mapped onto my geometry, right? That is the power of this, is that you can start adding stuff precisely where you need it. Let me show you one more example of this real quick, and then we will kind of wrap it up by re-adding this in Rhino and me rendering out something real quick and showing like the actual way of how I use this, because this is, I don't paint on, rather I use masks. I'll explain that in just a second. But let's say on Google, anywhere on Google, we use for danger sign. We just search for danger sign, and let's say whatever, that one. Nope. Sure, that seems fine. I'll just copy image of this in Photoshop. I'll just slap it on. All right, it was a JPEG, that is sorry, a PNG. That's fine. We'll fix the fact that this is all kind of black with magic wand tool. So I have this kind of danger sign here, right? I can then say that the danger sign goes on here. Transform it, Control T, transform it. Just like that, right? And then I make a copy of this, and let's say, can I log this? I need to log this. Is there like a lock? There used to be, yeah, there it is. And also lock that. I need to start locking the layers. So that layer 3, we just, or I just copy to, let's say here as well. Why not? Just like that. Disable the preview of that, save. Again, JPEG image, overwrite. Okay. Back in Blender. I think we will need to reopen it. So open element 10 for Blender. No, sorry, element 10 diffuse. Open. And now we have a danger sign applied to both of the faces here. As easy as that. Okay, so basically the setup is this. We will have black and white maps for two materials, right? One is going to be represented as black and other one is going to be represented as white. And then on top of it, we'll have one more layer that is going to be full of these signs, and we will use that. I'll show it to you in Vray, but later we're going to do that in Unreal Engine because this course is about Unreal Engine. So let's start exporting things. I will just close or kill the material altogether. Let's get back in here. I've killed the material altogether. And one thing that I'll do before exporting is I will go to modifier properties here, and I'll add the modifier, I'll apply a subdivision surface modifier to this. You can see that, let me show you before and after. This was before, right? A little bit too sharp. And this is after. Everything's a little bit softer. So it just creates more edges. If I now click on this, if I now click on this little arrow here and choose to apply and choose to look at it in the wireframe, you can see that it's just more polygons, right? It uses Catmull-Clark subdivision. That's about it. Now we export this. Select the object, file, export, OBJ. We go for, well, this is the tutorial, right? So we just go for desktop, element 10 for Rhino, right? And here the scale, remember we scaled it down at the start. I will change the scale to 100 because we scaled it by 0.01. So we scale it back to normal. Export OBJ. Sorry about that. It's done very, very quickly. Then in Rhino, user disappear, or actually you don't disappear because we need to check if we import this object in the correct orientation. So let's type in import element 10 for Rhino. Even shows a little nice revolving thing here. Open. Yeah, sure, sounds good. And of course it's not yeah, the scale is correct, but the orientation is not, but that's easy to fix. We will select the object. This is important. You don't use gumball for this. Keep in mind, you don't use gumball, right? No gumball. Okay, we rotate 3D. Start of rotation axis is gonna be 0, right? It's gonna be 0. We rotate around the Y vector. So just on the grid, look where the Y vector is, or you can also look here. So holding down the shift key, I'm locking my angle to that vector. And then we will, I believe, need to think about this. No, it's not gonna be that, or is it X? Sorry, give me a second, need to remember the numbers. So it wasn't the numbers. I missed one thing when importing the file. So when you do import, I've deleted it by the way, we re-import it. When you do import, you choose element 10, for Rhino, hit open, and then here there's a tick mark that says map object Y to Rhino Z. That's important. So you tick mark that, and then once you hit OK, then it imports properly. Forgot that object uses the Y instead of Z. Anyway, now it's fine. Now let's get rid of the old one, delete that, and just move this into the correct layer, element 10. Change object layer, go to its properties, display color, by layer. Yeah, everything needs to be by layer. Great. You can see that it's much softer from what it was before. That's due to, that's due to Catmull-Clark subdivision. All right, so now let's Finally, let's apply some textures to it. So I'll use Vray for this, right? I'll use Vray, and I'll just say, well, what kind of two materials do we want to use, right? Let's do something very drastic. So let's use concrete for the body, and then those inner rings should be glowing like an emissive material, right? So I will use concrete, there we go, and something that is not too intense. So concrete, reflective, concrete flooring. Yeah, let's go for concrete flooring, this one right here, like that. And that's gonna be our main material, and our emissive, I'm just gonna create that one. This is not a Vray tutorial, so I'm not gonna explain too much what I'm doing. Then render output a little bit bigger so that we can see what's going on. I guess we can kind of start rendering, right? Because this is gonna be a simple one. Okay, something like that. So now if I slap on the concrete flooring material on this, is everything over bright? It feels like everything's over bright. Is it because the sun is on? Yeah, the sun was on. Okay, so since I slapped on the concrete flooring material on this, you can see a few weird, well, let's make this smaller and zoom into this a bit more. Actually, I kind of want to close that. Just bear with me. Close that and choose to render with my graphics card rather than with the processor, because my computer started screaming. Okay, so this is like the output that we get, right? And it's a little bit too big, considering that this should be like a 10 meter, the size of this element should be 10 meters. Also, the render is obnoxiously big. Let's make it smaller. Can't fit all of it, right? So first thing that I'm gonna do is I'll fix the tiling of this object. So the way we do this is we can't access the UVW unwrap anymore. So I'm gonna just go directly into concrete flooring, and for color, I'll just choose texture placement, UV placement, and I'll just choose to repeat the UVs 2 times, or maybe even 4 times, like that. And then I'll do the same thing with the bump map, because I see that it uses a bump map. That's Perlin noise, so that's actually fine. We could do frequency. Higher frequency means more, so 4 times more frequency. Bottom. There we go. Oh, that's actually a copy of it. That's great. And then for reflection, we also have 2 textures. So this one, we do 4. Oh, it just repeats for everything. Oh, that's very nice of it. Does it repeat here as well? Yes, it does. Nice. Okay. That was easy. So we get ourselves, you know, a pretty decent texture map here. But the problem is that the inner ones we can't really work with, because the inner ones, the inner rings are not glossy, because we're just using the concrete texture. So what happens when I do emissive, when I apply emissive to this? Well, the whole thing becomes emissive, right? So I can't really choose either one, or I can only choose one or the other in this case. And this is where we will use the Photoshop to actually define which one is which, right? So here, let me just start from scratch. Delete that, delete that, unlock that, and delete these two. Oh, you didn't see. I deleted the layers. I only kept the background layer, which is white, and now I'm going to just kind of draw on top, right? So the background layer, actually, I want to keep it black, Control I for black, and when I create the background, when I make the background layer black, you can see that my curves, the line work that I have for the UVs is too dark. So I'll just unlock it for a second, change the blending mode of it to screen. That doesn't really help, does it? Kind of shows up, but not too much. Is there like a better one? Or maybe we can do screen and then levels and make it brighter. Yeah, we can do it that way. Perfect. Or, sorry, I know that I'm all over the place. We just invert. We just invert it. And then screen works just fine. Right? Rasterize the layer. Lock the layer. Okay, good. So now we have like this this setup where the background is black and the line work is white, and then for wherever we want the concrete is represented with black color, and the emissive material or any other material is going to be represented with white color. So I will just mark out this area right here. Oops. Need it to be white. There we go. So I've marked out this area, and I'm just saying that, yo, this is gonna be white. Hide this, save that. JPEG, you know the drill. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. Hit OK. Back in Rhino. I can actually show you that texture in Rhino, how it looks like. So I'll just create a material, generic material, and just apply the bitmap of the texture that we've just made. There it is. There are the white stripes that we want to see. Apologies. That we want to see. Right? And that is the mask that we're going to be using. So how do you use a mask in Vray? Well, you create a material that's called blend material. And I'll just call it master. Right? And the blend material is basically going to, or master L10. And the blend material is going to have a base material of concrete. Right? That's the base, and I can just slap it on, apply. But it's going to have a top coat over the base material of the emissive one, right? So I click the top, like a add layer thing, and then I'm choosing emissive here. And now it's not working that great, right? Because it's all kind of messy. It's just overlaying it with 50% opacity, so it's shit. But you can see here that blend has a possibility to use a texture, a mask, if you will, right? So that is what we're going to use. A bitmap for that with the diffuse, and voila. Now we're driving where the emissive material is located as opposed to the concrete material with the mask. I feel like that is pretty cool. Come on. That is pretty cool. Let me make the environment dark. Or rather, like that. Bear with me. like that. There we go, something like that. So now I can change the emissive color, for instance, to reddish, and it's just gonna, or bluish, and it's just gonna apply it. Sweet. Okay, so we're almost done. A few adjustments, like I could start adding stuff here. Oh, also the bump map is way too strong. Bump, oh, it's 8 centimeters, of course it's too strong. It should be like a centimeter, right? Not more than that. Something like this. And then some, you can start adding grime as well, right? So for instance, let me show you. Let's create one more map, right? Where, or actually let's not add grime because that is yucky. You could, but you know, just Photoshop in whatever you want on top of this. But let's add some signs on this because signs are nice. So danger was pretty cool, but maybe something a little bit more subtle. Maybe danger is fine. Like that. Just a very, very small one. Right here. Right? And maybe one more. Somewhere here. Like that. So we have like two danger signs, and then and then on top we can have just bear with me. bear with me. Oh, we need to write what's the element, right? For debugging purposes. Element 10. In white color, please. Just white. EL10. Just like that. Right? And maybe one more somewhere here. Wait, that's the inner ones, right? Those are the inner ones. So not the inner ones. Rasterize type. The outer one. Perhaps here. If I remember correctly, there wasn't a lot of stretching going on there. Element 10. Then with a brush, let's find. Yeah, that seems like an okay brush, but we need like an eraser rather than a brush. Like that. Why is this still a brush? We need an eraser rather than a brush. Dry media, wet media, dry media, chunky charcoal. Why does it? It just creates a brush for me. But I don't want it to be a brush. That's weird. Anywho, should probably stop playing around with this. But you can, you know, add like additional stuff here, and oops, that was too much. And erase a few things from here. give a bit more hardness and a little bit less of a size. Good enough. You know, element 10, sure. And then you have one more layer that you will be adding, of course, right? So to be able to add this one more layer, it needs to be saved as one more object, one separate or one more texture on top of everything. And we will be saving it as a PNG, right? It will need to be transparent in its, you know, in its essence. So I'm just making sure that I have all of the correct layers here. Merge them. Perfect. File, save as, JPEG, not JPEG, PNG, goddammit. PNG. And we call it element 10 L10 dash, how do we call the stickers? Stickers. Hit save. Sure, hit OK. Like the reason why we save with PNG is because it retains the alpha channel. Then we go back into our Rhino and we will slap on one more layer on top, which is going to be the stickers layer. And for that, we need a material, a generic material called L10 stickers. And the diffuse map is going to be, where is it? Bump map, bitmap. We're gonna use the bitmap as our diffuse, and that's gonna be the stickers, just like that. Perfect. And then we need to control the opacity, which is gonna be from the, oh, actually I can just kind of drag and drop it in like that. And it should work, but it doesn't. So let's see what's up with that. Okay, just a small little mistake. You don't need to add an opacity map here. You just tick mark diffuse texture alpha, and yeah, and then it's just gonna work because it gets the alpha from the PNG, right? So if I were to apply this to my object, you can see, you know, that the stickers will be rendering out, but the thing is that we need to add it, you know, on top, and that is going to be actually very easy to do because we don't even need blending for this because it's already transparent. So as our additional code for the master element 2 material, the blend material, we'll use element and stickers with a full blend, like white blend. And we'll just apply this to our object. And it kind of works except for that little triangle, which I messed up. Like the triangles of the danger zone. But here I can see element 10 marked out nicely on top of the geometry. And not just that, but now I can actually go to my stickers and change the reflection for this to be more or less glossy, add refraction to it. I don't know why you would, but you can, and so on. Like do all sorts of weird stuff. Add metalness so that it's a metallic reflection, for instance. Right? Let's find the one that I photoshopped. Where the hell is it? the element 10 sign that was photoshopped with no metalness, preferably. Hello? Ah, there it is. There it is. So it's on the inside. And I try to not have it on the inside. God damn it. Okay, two things to fix, which are gonna be quite easy to do. So first of all, these black bars need to go, which is again gonna be very easy. Just delete it. There. We delete it there. Then the sign right here apparently is for the inner one. So these are the outer ones. I really thought that, well, we can check in Blender. L. Yep, that is indeed the inner one. L, inner, outer, outer. Okay, gotcha. So these two are outer ones, I assume. Outer. Oh my god, no. I messed that one up. Nah, it doesn't matter. As long as we know that this and this, these two are outer ones, we can kind of reposition the texture. So back in Photoshop, I just grab this texture here and I'll just, with Control, drag it onto one of the outer ones, for instance, here. And I think that's all I wanted to fix with this. So I'm just gonna hide that, hide the background, save as a PNG, and just overwrite the original. So there's a little bit of kind of back and forth, of course, as usual, you know, in architecture. At this point, no need to show you the layers anymore because we're only gonna be in Rhino. Yeah, and I think if we... Do I need to re-render? Probably don't. I probably just need to here disable... Oh, that's the wrong one. Where's the stickers? Disable and enable? No. I do actually need to reopen these, which is weird. Why are those still on the inside? Why do you not update? Why? Because those seem to be updated here in the icon. Okay, sure. Let's do this then. Clear. Clear completely. Doesn't clear. Doesn't want to clear. I guess we need to stop the render. Clear. Doesn't want to still. Oh my god. I think we found another bug. Today is like a bug fiesta for Blender. That's not Blender. This is Rhino. Hello. So it's a bug fiesta for Rhino. Okay, sure. Let's delete the full material. Can't be bothered with it. Generic. Can't create a new material now. This is the moment where you start saving. This is the moment where you definitely save your stuff and you yep, there we go. Encountered the problem. Years of experience has led me to understanding when do you need to click that save button as fast as possible. Clicking buttons on Vray. No. Clearing image texture on Vray. I'm not providing my email. Oh, press the wrong button to not send. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's open it up again. Thankfully it's saved and just in time. So it should be okay. Or not. We'll see. How is this? That looks fine. Stickers are here as if they were not deleted at all. Yep, they are here and they are clean. All right. Opacity, everything's fine. All right, so let's just get to rendering again and then see if if it just gonna work. So if we just needed to restart. Yep, everything's fine. Danger, element 10. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Where's the, oh, there it is, upside down, but that's okay. Element 10. Okay, we are kind of done. We're kind of done. So this is like the, oops, this is the geometry that you want to have and geometry that you want to prep for the next step in our Grasshopper to Unreal 5 tutorial series. Next one is probably gonna be the last one that we're gonna do, and we will call this course done. So we're gonna make the structure as pretty as possible and as pleasant as possible to walk through. So wait for the next one. That one's gonna be real cool. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.